everybody, this is Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet what I call the DTR cowl. And the DTR stands for double, triple crochet stitch. And I love this cowl because it has so many different ways of wearing it, and depending on how long you make it or how wide you make it, like I said, it has so many different ways to wear it. Another reason that I really love this particular pattern is because it works great if you have a relative or a friend going through chemo treatments. Something that happens is when they go to the doctor or to church or to the library or even just shopping and the air conditioning is just blasting, they get really, really cold. And so what they can do is they can wear their cowl, and then if their head gets cold, they can pull it up for a hood. And you can wear this with any sweater or hoodie or even just a t-shirt, just to make sure you have something in case your head gets a little bit chilly. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. What you're going to need to make a cowl is about 3 or more ounces, depending on how big you want to make it, of a lightweight number 3 yarn. Now I chose this one because it is super soft and it's perfect for those who are going through chemo treatments, but it's also perfect for anyone. The Ice Cream Yarn by Lion brand, they have a yellow, they have blue, they have a variegated one that's in pastels and one that's in dark colors that works up just fine. Now this one here is just made with the cupcake yarn that comes in a cake. I had some left over and I used it to test the pattern, and I really love this one because it's just in bright, fun colors. And so really you can use any lightweight number 3 yarn for this project, and you'll need about 3 to 3.5 ounces. Now this skein or skein, however you want to call it, is 3.5 ounces. So if you buy one of these, you have plenty to make your cowl. Now of course you'll need your scissors to cut off at the end. You'll need a needle for weaving in those ends. And then we're going to be stitching today with our H hook. The H is a 5.00 millimeter crochet hook, and that's what we'll use for this project. To make a cowl the size of the pink one that I made, we're going to begin chaining 80 chains. Now if you want your cowl to be longer, you'll need to chain 3 chains per inch. Alrighty, and that's approximately, because remember, everybody chains differently. And one thing I do want to remind you, that as you do this initial chain, make sure that you stitch your initial chain just a little bit loose. You can see I'm not chaining mine real tight, because you don't want the end of your cowl to be bunched up. Sometimes if we chain too tightly, we end up with the one side kind of pulling and the other side kind of open. Because it's basically making a tube, and we're going to be joining in a circle. And so make sure this initial chains of 80 chains is stitched just a little bit loose. So I've chained my 80 chains, and you can see they're nice and loose, they're not tight. And we're going to join this chain in a circle. Now you need to be careful not to twist your chain, and so I sort of lay it out so I can see it all the way around. We're going to join to that first chain. Bring this down so you can see with a slip stitch. So we'll put our hook in, we'll pull a loop through, and then we'll pull that loop through the loop that's on our hook, and then we'll just chain 1. The first row that we're going to stitch is a single crochet. So we'll go in that first chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through those 2. And we'll do this in each chain around. So we're stitching 1 single crochet in each chain around. We'll place that 1 single crochet in each chain around, and then we'll join to that first single crochet when we get back around. Now, this is where it can be a little bit tricky. You want to make sure that you only place 1 single crochet in each chain, and make sure that you count when you get around that you only have 80 single crochets. Or if you added some chains to make it longer, make sure that you have the same number of single crochets that you do of chains. The stitch count will not change throughout this project. We'll be working off 80 stitches for every row, and again, if you added chains to make it longer, you'll work off that same number for every row of your cowl. So I'm stitching 1 single crochet in each of the chains around, and then I'm going to join to the top of that first single crochet. I've stitched my single crochets in each of the chains, and being very careful not to twist my chain, we're going to join to the first single crochet with a slip stitch. So we'll go right in, pull up a loop, pull that loop through the loop on the hook, and now we're going to chain 5. This chain 5 counts as your first double, triple crochet stitch. All right, now the fun begins because we're going to learn how to stitch the double, triple crochet stitch. So we're going to put 3 wraps on our hook. Make sure that you don't wrap them too tightly or they won't be easy to slide off, but also don't make them so loose that they slide off easily. All right, so we have those 4 loops. We're going to go in our first stitch and pull up a loop. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. All right, so yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over, and go through the last 2. And that's a double triple. It's really not hard. It is a fun stitch. It's nice and tall. And what we're going to do is place a double, triple crochet stitch in each of the single crochets around. So you're going to get lots of practice. 3 loops, go in the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over the second 2, yarn over the third 2, yarn over the fourth 2. That is our double, triple crochet stitch. It's always fun to learn a new stitch, but it's also fun to learn it and put it right into a project that you can practice. And if you'll notice, as I'm stitching, I'm holding on to that stitch. I'm holding my loops on my hook with this finger, then I'm going in the stitch and pulling up the loop. Yarn over, and then you'll see as I stitch, I'm hanging on to that stitch with my thumb and finger of this other hand. And that just helps because it can be a little bit clumsy because it is such a tall stitch. All right, that's something else that just might help you. I'm holding those loops on with this finger, going in my stitch, pulling up that loop, and then I'm holding with my thumb and finger of this hand as I'm stitching that stitch. Isn't that a lovely stitch? I love it. It makes a nice tall stitch. And I have plans also, so keep in touch because I want to make a shawl using this same stitch. All right, so here we go again. I'll do it again nice and slow. All right, So we're going to continue placing 1 double, triple crochet stitch in each of our single crochets. And then when we get back around, we're going to join to the top of that chain 5. I have completed my row of my double, triple stitches. And I have to tell you, I just really love this stitch. I love how it lays. I love that it's tall. All right, so once you've completed your row, however many stitches, if you added, we're going to join to the top of our chain 5 with a slip stitch. And then we're only going to chain 1. And the way this pattern works is you're going to do a row of single crochets, and then you'll do a row of the double triples in your single crochets. So I'm going to go right in that first stitch and stitch a single crochet. And then I'll stitch 1 in each one of the top of the triples. And I liked having this row of single crochets in between my double triple stitches because they can be just a little bit loosey, you know, loosey-goosey, and we want to make sure that the cowl is going to hold its shape. And just by adding this simple row of single crochets in between each row of the double triples, it just helps the cowl hold its shape better and stay where it's supposed to be. So I'm just stitching 1 row of single crochets, stitching 1 single crochet in each one of the double triple stitches. And I'll do this all the way around this row, and then I'll join again to that first single crochet where I started. Now remember, you're only going to have the number of single crochets that you have of your triples. And we began with 80, and we're going to keep going with 80 stitches for each row. And if you added more, you're going to have, you know, that same amount that you added. It doesn't grow, it doesn't get less. Every row will have 80 stitches. I completed my row of single crochets. I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and then again chain 5. And that chain 5 counts as our first double triple for our next row. To complete the cowl, what you're going to do is you're going to repeat the double triple row and the single row 7 more times, so you'll have a total of 8 rows. Let me show you with the other cowl that I've already completed. Here's our initial row, our chain and our single crochet, and then our first row and then single crochet. And then we just repeated that 7 more times, and you need to make sure that you end with a single crochet row. Now that's if you're going to keep to the pattern. You'll have 8 rows of the double triple with 9 rows because you started with a single and you're going to end with a single of the single crochet rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now if you want to make your cowl longer, you can just continue to repeat those rows until it's the length that you want. Now this length measures approximately 11 inches, and that's plenty so that you can scrunch it up to wear it as a cowl, but also have the room to make it so that you can pull it up onto your head to wear as a hood if you want to. And that's just how easy it is to make the DTR, or the double triple stitch cowl.